पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Can somebody put the reminder?
I'll do that, Prabhuji.
In the group. So hopefully today we will conclude the summary study of fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So once again, thank you so much for joining. I've noticed, not many devotees are joining for the summary studies. Not sure why, but some of them are very regular. I can also notice that. So today we will try and complete from chapter 24 to chapter 31 of fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a simple overview. We're not going into the detail, but it's a simple, very simple overview. In a nutshell, we are summarizing everything so that we can remember what had been discussed in the past. Okay, right. So in the last session, we covered the story of Prithu Maharaj, and we had seen how he performed his sacrifices. He could not complete the 100th sacrifice, and following the order of Brahma, he was happy with the 99 sacrifices. Later, Lord Vishnu brought King Indra and asked Prithu Maharaj to forgive him, but Prithu embraced him, and Prithu asked for so many benedictions from the Lord. His benedictions were that he would like to have a million years so that he can continue to hear the glories of the Lord from the lotus mouth of pure devotees, and he wants to engage in the service of the Lord. Later, King Prithu had the audience of 4 Kumaras, and Maharaj Prithu had taken lessons, asked questions and taken lessons from them. Also, he guided the citizens, saying that you carry on performing your prescribed duty and at the same time engage in devotional service. And this can be done by serving the pure devotees of the Lord. That was the essential instruction of Prithu Maharaj to the subjects. And at the end, King Prithu retires from the family life along with his wife Archie. They went to the forest and they fully retired, and they both went back to the spiritual world. So that's that story ends in chapter 23. Now we will continue from chapter 24 onwards today. Let me just bring up. Yeah. So chapter 24 is entitled Chanting the Song sung by Lord Shiva. So in the lineage of Prithu Maharaj, there was a pious king named Prachina Barihi or Prachina Barishat. There were several kings, but the story of Prachina Barihi has been discussed elaborately. So he was a very pious king, Prachina Barihi, and so he married to the daughter of ocean god, who was very, very beautiful. Mm. Even, she was so beautiful that Agni Dev had desired her. Um, and Prachina Barihi begot 10 children in the womb of his wife, and asked them to procreate. Mm. Um, so when they decided, rather than directly get married, let's actually perform some penances, austerities, devotion to the Lord, thereby control the senses and come back and enter into the household life. Mm. So then they went into the forest, and they were just walking and walking, kept on walking, and until they reached a big lake. It was as big as the ocean. So beautiful description of this lake was given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Wonderful flowers were there. Some were blooming in the morning, and some were in the afternoon, some were in the night. Various colors of birds were there. They were chirping nicely. So many lotuses were there. Everything was so peaceful and pleasant. So they chose that lake to actually enter into that lake and perform some devotion to the Lord. But just before, when they were about to enter into that lake, from that lake, they heard some musical singing. Some music was coming. And lo and behold, there appeared Lord Shiva with his associates. And immediately they offered obeisances, all these prachetas numbered in 10. So they offered obeisances to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva was very pleased with them. And he said to them that, I appear to you to instruct a prayer which will help you in your devotion to Lord Krishna. And he said that the devotees of Lord Hari are very, very dear to me. Bhagavantam Vasudevaha Prapannaha sa priyosime. So those who worship those who worship Lord Hari are extremely dear to me. And he mentions that I respect the devotees of Lord Hari as much as I respect Lord Vishnu. Similarly, the devotees of Lord Vishnu also respect me as much as they respect Lord Vishnu, because I am also a devotee of the Lord. So then, after saying this, he instructed a prayer called Rudra Gita. It is quite lengthy. There were it starts from text 23 and goes until 68. So quite something like 35, 30, 36 verses are there. So in the Rudra Gita, basically the essence of the prayer of Lord Shiva was like, initially he was offering obeisances to the Lord. and then the various presiding deities of this universe. And then there is a description of seeing the form and serving the Lord's glorious form. And he also talks about glories of bhakti and association of pure devotees. And then he also talks about relation between the Lord and the material creation. Mm. So this was the prayer he chanted, and so they heard it, they remembered it. He might have just spent few minutes with them, just a few minutes probably. So within the few minutes, Lord Shiva gave his association, and also um, gave this mantra. He himself chanted so that they can hear and remember. And then Lord Shiva tells that actually this mantra was given to us by Lord Brahma. And we perfected our life by chanting this prayer. So I request you to chant this prayer while engaging in your prescribed duties. Lord Shiva tells Prachetas. So engage in your prescribed duty and chant this mantra, worship the Supreme Lord. This way you perfect. This is a wonderful recipe for us also. Very simple and yet very effective recipe. Engage in prescribed duty, chant the mantra, worship the Lord. Of course, chanting and worshiping the Lord is same, but there is slightly difference, like where we do deity worship and then chanting mantra is slightly on a different level. So then just by hearing this prayer repeatedly, chanting this prayer, one becomes a devotee and one will please the Lord, fulfill all desires, at the end attains the supreme abode. So for us, Prabhupada has given this 16 mantra consisting of 16 words, 16 letters, right? Yeah. So simple mantra: Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we can simply repeat this mantra, and also we can also perfect our life. So Prachetas, they entered into the waters and chanted this mantra, staying together for 10,000 years. They repeated. For us, we need not to enter into any lake. We just have to follow 4 regulative principles, and then keep on chanting this mantra, and not offend any devotees, and be sincere in our endeavor. That would give us the results. So here we can see in the lives of Prachetas, there was Lord Shiva. There is a devotee. So if you see Srimad Bhagavatam, you take any example, any devotee's life, there is a devotee. Without a pure devotee giving association, no one can become a devotee. You take Narada Muni. Who were there in the Narada Muni's life? Anybody? Who was there?
Bhakti Vedantas.
We also have Bhakti Vedanta, right? So we also have Bhakti Vedanta. He had Bhakti Vedanta. In Dhruva Maharaj's life, who was there?
Narad Muni.
Narada Muni. Yes, Narada Muni instructed. Yeah. So there is a resound. Narada Muni, that's right. And then In Prithu Maharaj's life, who was there?
Brahmaji.
Brahmaji and more Kumaras were there. Four Kumaras came, isn't it? Four
Yes.
Kumaras were there. Like this, if you see, for Vidura, Vidura was taking association from whom?
Maitreya.
Maitreya. So like this, if you see every devotee, and in their life there is another devotee. Here, for Prachetas, they had the association of Lord Shiva only for a few minutes. Tulyama lavenapi nasvargam na punarbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martyanam kim utashisha. A movement of a association with a pure devotee of the Lord cannot be compared to attaining the liberation or or heavenly planets. It cannot be compared. So that means the movement of association with a pure devotee is greater than attaining liberation and attaining heavenly planets. It will award much, much, much greater results, better results than when compared with attaining the liberation and attaining heavenly planets. So that's why Lord Shiva in his prayers, he also mentions that, there is one prayer says that, I would like to have, in the prayer, it says that, let me have the association of your pure devotees. So with that, 24th chapter ends, and then we are now moving into 25th chapter. So this is where, yes, Padma Mataji.
Prabhuji, can I ask a question now, or shall I leave it?
Sure. If it is a quick one, I can answer now.
Okay, Prabhuji. So the Lord sends devotees to help, like young budding devotees. Yeah. So we associate with so many devotees, but how do we know we are in the right association, and how are we able to understand their instructions? They're not like very obvious, like Shivaji or Brahmaji or Chatuskumaras for us in our lives. How do we know we are in the right association? How do we know we are taking the instruction correctly?
Yeah. So for us in Kali Yuga, so with regards to association, firstly, I would say that we should offer sincere prayer to the Lord. Oh my Lord, I don't want to be cheated. Let me have the right association. There should be a prayer for us, from us, right? That's the desire. And for example, for me, I feel that we are fortunate having connected to Srila Prabhupada's movement. By reading Prabhupada purports, by reading Prabhupada books, we are associating with Prabhupada. Although he is not here physically, but we are associating with Prabhupada. But when we read other pastimes, now we are associating with Lord Shiva and Prachetas by reading it. That is one type of association. But also, ideally, we should also, in our lives, we should have a devotee who can train us personally. And that can be tested. Ideally, the mentality should match, and, the person who you choose should correct you in a loving way and in train you in a loving way. So we should also, in addition to this, we should personally seek for such type of association. You also mentioned one question. You also asked one point. How do we know we are taking their instructions? Yeah.
How do we know that it is is the instruction coming from Lord Krishna?
how do we know if the instructions is coming from Lord Krishna?
So Lord Krishna sent the
Yeah.
Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj with that instruction, isn't it? So how do we know that that is the instruction coming from the Lord and we are not missing it or not thinking the wrong instruction is the right instruction?
Yeah, so that requires some intelligence. But for us, definitely, you know, we all have come to the shelter of Prabhupada, right?
Mm.
So we got the association. So that itself is the Lord's blessing. One thing is, there are two things. One is getting the association. Second is practicing it. Say, for example, in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, he did what he was told to do so. Right? You agree?
Yes.
So he said, whatever Narad said, he did it.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So he followed exactly. So we have to follow. Say, for example, if I'm taking the instruction, if I'm trying to follow the orders of Prabhupada, then follow 4 regulative principles sincerely and chant Hare Krishna mantra and try and serve Prabhupada.
Mm.
So I think we need not to complicate. I think because it is simple, we might miss it. Of course, you can test it, if you want to test. But ultimately, when we follow the path, we will feel some happiness, some progress. We feel ourselves some progress.
I see. Yes.
We will see that. So yes, initially, say for example, you are coming on a regular basis. That means you have taste. You are dedicating that time for hearing Krishna Katha. So we will make some progress. We feel some attachment, some connection to that.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So I will move forward. Okay. So after Prachetas were instructed by Lord Shiva, they just simply entered into the waters of that big lake and started chanting this prayer, Rudra Gita, together, staying together. While they were performing austerities, Narada decided to come and deliver their father. The sons were in good hands now. They had the association of Lord Shiva, they entered the lake. But however, Narada Muni, see here again, you can see that Prachina Barihi. So their father name was Prachina Barihi. So Narada Muni came to Prachina Barihi or Prachina Barisha and then tried to rectify his behavior. He was very much addicted to perform sacrifices just to gain some material benefits. We call it fruitative activities. He was doing just sacrifice after sacrifice, back to back. And why is he doing? Just to get some material benefit. So Narada Muni came and tried to rectify his situation. And so he said, come on, what are you going to gain by this process? It will not purify you. It will, number one, it won't purify you. Number two, it will not attain the highest goal of life, that is going back to Godhead. And then Prachina Barisha then begged Narad to enlighten him. And then Narada Muni said, see in the sky, all the animals that you killed in the sacrifice, various sacrifices, are waiting there. With his mystic potency, he could actually show the animals there in their physical form. So they are just waiting to take revenge. When you die and when you acquire another body, they will come and attack you because you had killed them in the sacrifice. So then Prachina Barishat begged Narada Muni to enlighten, but Narada Muni then decided to tell an allegorical story. So this is about Puranjana, King Puranjana. So Narada Muni, to make King Prachina Barishat understand fully, he just narrates a story, made up story, allegorical story. He says, once there was a king called Puranjana. He wanted to enjoy. So for that reason, he was looking for a right, suitable place. He wandered all over the universe, and he found some place. He found a city to live in.
9 gates.
Yeah, city which consists of 9 gates. But this Puranjana had a unknown friend whose name was Avijñata. His friend was his well-wisher, but he didn't care for his friend. So he was just roaming and trying to enjoy separately from his friend. So in that city of 9 gates, he found a beautiful woman. Her name is Puranjani. So he praised her and he proposed her to marry him, and she agreed. But this lady, Puranjani, she was guarded by a 5-hooded serpent, and she had 10 attendants with her. So here in this story, the Puranjana refers, it's the spirit soul. Puranjana refers to the individual soul, us, for ourselves. Or in this story, basically is talking about the king himself. So the unknown friend is actually Supreme Lord. Wherever we go, Lord is accompanying us. Whichever species we go, Lord is always there in the form of Paramatma, super soul. And so the individual soul always try to enjoy separately from Krishna. That's why, we are here in this material world. So, and this body, our body is a city which consists of 9 gates. There are 9 holes in this body. And who is this Puranjani? Anybody remembers? What does she represent? She represents polluted intelligence or material intelligence. So the soul gets married to polluted intelligence. And this 5-hooded serpent represents the 5 life heirs. And the 10 attendants represents 10 servants. Basically, Puranjana, he became servant of his wife. Means we have become servant of our polluted intelligence, like a pet animal. So that way we are trying to fully follow the orders of this polluted intelligence. It is said that Puranjana, king, drank, dined, chewed, sang, cried, laughed, talked loosely, walked, stood still, lied down, sat, heard, saw, smelt, touched, lamented, enjoyed, and was satisfied exactly following her. So that means, what does it mean? Basically, whatever the intelligence, polluted intelligence says, we are following it. So we became servant of our polluted intelligence, material intelligence. That is the meaning of it. When we worship the Lord, that intelligence becomes purified. Then we gain the spiritual intelligence. Then we can then discriminate between the right and wrong properly. Intelligence means discrimination. So currently we do not have full, appropriate discriminating power. We just follow whatever intelligence says. Intelligence has to decide. Mind, above the senses, there is mind. Above the mind, there is intelligence. So that's how the individual living entity became servant, menial servant, like a pet animal, in the hands of material intelligence. So this material intelligence here termed as Puranjani, wife of King Puranjana. And so later it is described that in due course, that King Puranjana, he becomes old. His body means his city was attacked by time factor, which is called Chandavega in this, and also Kalakanya, old age. The city was attacked by various beings. So city means our body. Body is attacked by time. In due course, body dwindles, and we also become old. There will be diseases attacking us. So, and there is fear of death in the old age. So this way, while being attacked by all these elements, the King Puranjana, he laments, and at the time of quitting his body, he just remembers his wife. As a result of that, in the next life, he was born as a woman, as a son of daughter of a king. Her name was Vaidarbi. So somehow or other, because this Puranjana, he performed some pious activities in the previous life, such as some sacrifices, etc. As a result of that, he was born as Vaidarbi in the same country. In a country. So yeah, this Vaidarbi was married to a king named Malayadwaja. And this Malayadwaja was a very nice devotee of the Lord. He performed severe austerities and realized the Lord. So this Vaidarbi always serving this Malayadwaja. And after Malayadwaja left his body, then she was lamenting. At that time, the Avijnata, old friend, comes and talks to this Vaidarbi and educates her. and gives her the knowledge. So here, Malayadwaja figuratively represents Guru. So we can see that King Puranjana later became Vaidarbhi as a woman and married to Malayadwaja. And in this life, that Vaidarbhi served Malayadwaja nicely. So what the story tells here, that we are suffering because we are serving our polluted intelligence, material intelligence. We left our best friend, Lord Krishna, and we try to enjoy separately from him. And in this case, because the king was very much attached to the wife, he became woman in the next life, because Krishna says, whatever one thinks at the time of quitting body, that state he will attain without a fail. We know the story of Bharat Maharaj. He became deer while thinking, while thinking about deer while quitting body, right? So, but this time, she had a wonderful opportunity. Her husband was a devotee. So she served her husband nicely. As a result of that, the super soul came and spoken to him and revealed himself. So the point, the main point here is that we may take different births, but until we serve a pure devotee of the Lord, the cycle will not stop. Cycle goes on forever. One species to another species, one planet to another, sometimes lower, sometimes middle, sometimes higher planets. We'll be moving from lowest planet to the highest planet in different species. But this cycle stops, or we'll be able to realize the Supreme Lord, or we will be able to attain the blessings of the Supreme Lord only when we serve the pure devotee of the Lord. We accept a spiritual master, we serve that spiritual master. That's when the cycle stops. That is the essence of this story. And so Narada fully explains this story, and then he also gives further instructions to King Prachina Barhi. And he tells, so Jiva, the living entity, gets different bodies according to the modes. Those who are in the mode of goodness, they take birth in the higher planetary system. And those who are in the passion, they take in the middle. They take birth in the middle planets. Those who are dominated by mode of ignorance will be born into animal species. And Narada Muni further says, the living entity is wandering like a stray dog from one door to another door, roaming and suffering. And there is no remedy for this material means. The only remedy is to surrender to Krishna. And in this world, there is always a misery. And he gives one example. So sometimes, so you carry a big load on your head and you feel, heavy. That time, what you do, you will move it to the shoulder. The weight, you put the weight on the shoulder and you feel discomfort on the shoulder, then you will try to hold like this. So what it says is that the misery is always there. The misery is always there. So say, for example, I left India to come here. It doesn't mean that I don't have any misery. There is another type of misery, right? So there is always a misery. So this material world, you can't escape the misery, Narada Muni is saying. Better you surrender to the Lord. That is the only means. And he gives a story of a deer. So let me just, anybody remembers the story of deer? Long time, isn't it? So a deer is grazing on grass and enjoying with his mate in a garden of flowers that are aromatic. And his ears are attracted to the songs of bumblebees. Deer always like to hear and attracted to nice music. So eating nice grass along with his wife and hearing the nice music of bumblebees. But it forgets that there is a hunter behind it. So that hunter represents the death, is trying to kill him. So we may be like the deer, but we don't know that there is a time factor waiting for us. There is old age there is death waiting, and we must, we may be just, we are just passing time and thinking that, everything is so good. So Narada Muni tells this story to King Prachina Barhi, and then Prachina Barhi having enlightened, then he offered his obeisances to Narada and expressed his gratitude. Immediately he retired. He left to the forest. He retired to the forest. Usually you wait until your sons return. While they were executing penances, he did not wait. He just handed over everything, all responsible to ministers. You look after ministers, you look after. I'm going now. I can't wait. And he left. And then he attained the supreme abode. If you see in this story also, Narada Muni was there, Prachina Barishyat. He heard and he followed the instruction. Again, this is the point, very important. Yeah, we should hear and follow their instruction, and then we get the mercy. So Prachina Barishyat exactly did what Narada had mentioned. So then we move on to chapter 30, entitled Activities of Prachetas. So Prachetas, they performed austerities for 10,000 years underwater while chanting this a prayer called Rudra Gita. So for us, we need not to do that long. So we have a very short life. Our lifespan is very short in this Kali Yuga. But it is said, even though it is very short, we can achieve perfection if we simply follow the instruction of Prabhupada, even though it is very short. Even though we are less intelligent, less able, short-lived, and always disturbed, yet we can attain perfection simply by chanting this Mahamantra. Never underestimate. Kaler doshane de rajan asti eko mahan guna kirtana deva krishnasya mukta sangha param prajet. This Kali Yuga, this age, uh, um, is compared to, ocean of faults in this, there are ocean of faults everywhere. Faults are everywhere in this Kali Yuga, in this age, particular age. But there is only one good thing, even though there are unlimited faults. And that one good thing is the name of Krishna. So we must take it. So Lord was very pleased with the Prachetas. You see here, they followed the instruction of Lord Shiva, exactly what they were told to do. They followed. And not only that, and Lord, when he appeared, he first said, I am pleased by your friendly relationships. This is the point Lord Vishnu tells. Lord came on, riding Garuda. They attracted, just like Dhruva Maharaj attracted Lord Vishnu. You remember the story? Lord also came on riding Garuda. So, and then first he says that he was very pleased with the friendly relationship. So the Prachetas, they never had a sibling rivalry. When we come together, it is quite possible we will see each other's shortcomings, but we should learn to tolerate with each other. There may be some disagreements, but we should learn to tolerate and in a friendly way execute devotion. This will please the Lord. And they always, Prachetas also had respect because they obeyed the instructions of their father. So for us also, we should offer respect to the seniors. Then Lord asked them to ask for a benediction. And so, their benediction was that, oh my Lord, just give us the association of pure devotees life after life. We don't mind roaming in this material world from one species to another species, one planet to another planet. We never mind this. As long as we get the association of your pure devotees, we never mind this. We don't want to liberate and go back to the spiritual world. If we can spend the time in the association of pure devotee, that itself is better than liberation. And they tells this, and they say that, see, we associated with Lord Shiva for few minutes, and now we got your audience, my Lord. So we just want this. And so Lord was very pleased with them. And so then Lord departed from that place. Prachetas, they came out of the waters. All this happened within the water. Lords, they had the audience of Lord within the waters of that lake. So they came out of the lake, and they saw the trees being very tall, and they tried to burn the trees, but Brahmaji comes and pacifies them. And they had a daughter, Marisha, and so they married, and they begot one son called Daksha. You remember the story of sacrifice performed by Daksha in the beginning of 4th canto.
Yes, so, Prabhuji.
Yes, because of that, this is the third birth. First as a Daksha, second after he was killed by Veerabhadra, he got goat head. You remember?
Yes.
And that is the second birth. And the third birth is this. He was born as a son of Prachetas.
Wow.
And after this, to the Prachetas, then ruled the kingdom for some time, and they kept their wife in the care of Daksha, and then they retired. So when they retired to the forest, this time they had the association of Narada Muni. This time Narada Muni came and enlightened them. And in this, Narada Muni gave so many instructions, but the essential point is that devotional service is the goal of all spiritual practices. Bhakti is the supreme. All other processes are useless without bhakti. This is the essential point. What is the use of other processes? It's just waste. Without devotion, all other processes are useless. So then, so Narada returns, and Prachetas attains the Lord's abode after engaging in devotion. So that's how the chapter ends. There is Falashruti. Let me read the Falashruti at the end. Those who hear these topics about surrendered kings obtain a long life. All of you will obtain long life. Long life. Very nice. It's good so that you can engage in devotion. So surrendered kings obtain a long life. Wealth, you can use it in the service of the Lord. And if you have too much wealth, you can donate. You can donate some to ISKCON Manchester. I'm happy to provide bank details. Reputation as a devotee, and good fortune, and ultimately the opportunity to return back to Godhead. So we will all go back to Godhead.
Haribo.
Wonderful fire stories of the various kings. With that, we complete the summary study of 4th Canto. Thank you so much, everyone. So it was a very, very quick summary, but I think it's nice. Like when I was preparing, I myself felt, oh, it's very nice to really go back and recollect some of the essential points from these stories. So once again, thank you so much. If anybody has any comments or any questions, please do so. Otherwise, we will end, and Krishna willing, we shall see you all next week.
Thank you very much for your time and effort, Prabhuji. I cannot tell you how valuable or invaluable, I must say, it has been. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for your kind words. So it helps me actually, rather than helping someone else, to be honest with you. Yeah, it helps me a lot. Yeah, so whenever I prepare, I think, why am I not doing every day like this? Only one, why on Thursday? Always I think like that. Because unless we have some target,
True.
some goal, without goal, we become lazy. Like I become lazy. So I was always thinking that I should have more of these things so that this way to engage. So
Canto 5 is going to be very interesting and challenging, isn't it, Prabhuji? Challenges everything that you learn in worldly education.
Yeah. I think we have a way to, because there is a description about the universe, the structure of the universe is given, but we have some means to explain that. We make it simplified. We will simplify, definitely. It is complicated, but we can simplify. But there are a lot of wonderful stories. Story of Rishabh Dev comes, story of Bharat Maharaj comes, and the story of Agnitra will come. So wonderful stories as well. But the structure of universe is a little bit complicated, but we will try and make it. Okay, so thank you very much. And Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grandhara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Hare.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Hare Bol.
Unless you open cameras, I don't know who is there on the call. I'm now seeing Meena Madhuri is there on the call. Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna.